Guys, so the machine learning algorithm that we're going to have a look at today is called decision trees, right? So it's a very interesting algorithm that lets us perform classification and regression tasks. Okay? You you actually would have made use of a decision tree inside your mind at some point of time in your life while tackling a particular problem. For example, your own decision to take up this data science course at DataMites. You would have done a lot of research and you would have asked yourself a lot of questions before taking up the decision, right? So you would have asked yourself, like, hey, is data science a growing field? Is there scope of a good career in the field? And your research would have yielded the answer that yes, it definitely is a growing field that you should learn it, right? And then you would have asked yourself, are there any good institutes? And then you would have come across DataMites, and you would ask yourself, hey, does it have good reviews? And does it have, let's say, good lecturers and good instructors? And then again, you would have arrived at the decision that yes, it does, right? So it was the combination of you know these kind of many kind of statements and decisions and questions that led to your final conclusion that you are taking up this course, right? So the decision tree algorithm, the machine learning algorithm itself is also a set of or a bunch of if-else statements essentially that lets you make a particular classification, right, or a regression. So let's have a look at how uh, decision tree works, right? So let's say this is the situation, right? I have a classroom. It's a bit sensitive. Just a moment. Yes. Let me zoom into it. Right. I have a classroom, and let's say this is what my classroom looks like. And I have a lot of students inside that classroom. And I know quite a lot of things about those students. I know what their age is, how I know what their height is, their weight is. And finally, I also know a very interesting thing about the students. That is, if they like to play basketball. Right. I know it sounds a bit weird at this moment, but play along with me. It will all make sense in a while, right? So my intention is to come up with a machine learning algorithm, right, using decision trees, which when fed with all this data, right, I'm going to tell the machine learning algorithm what the age of the student is, how tall he is, and how much he weighs. And as a result, it should be able to tell me whether the student likes to play basketball or not, right? So that is the idea. And this is what my classroom looks like at the moment, right? So these blue instances are the students who likes to play basketball, right? So there are about 8 students who like to play basketball, and these are the students who do not like to play basketball. I would say there are 7. Okay, great. So in order to understand how a decision tree works, you need to understand two very important concepts. That is, one is entropy, and one is information gain. They are related concepts, although they sound a bit complex at the moment. Trust me, they are pretty simple. In fact, entropy is something that you might have heard about back in your school days in chemistry classes. It was defined as something like this, that is a degree of randomness in the system. That is to say, the entropy value is going to tell me how random a system is. For example, if I had a bag, right, something like this kind of a bag, and it had a lot of red balls, a lot of yellow balls, a lot of blue and purple and black, right? So this is something of a system that I would call to be of high entropy. Right? There's high entropy in the system. On the other hand, if I was to, let's say, split this bag into 4 other bags, right, over here, and I'm going to put the red balls in this one, the yellow balls in this one, the blue in this one, and so on. You get the idea. these individual systems are the ones with low entropy, right? There is no randomness in them as such. They in fact are pure, right? There is only one kind of an element in each of these bands, right? So this is what the concept of entropy looks like. There are methods uh, to calculate this entropy figure, which is also important, but not something that I'm covering right now, right? What is more important is understanding what the concept of entropy is, that it just tells you how random a system is, right? So our classroom at the moment is also something of a high entropy system, right? There is a lot of randomness here. There are a lot of students who play basketball. There are a lot of people who don't. I'm not really getting any information from the system, right? So it's of a high entropy system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my class, right? Put it here, and I'm going to ask my students. I'm going to go to my class and ask my students that, hey, anyone, so everyone who is male, please come to the left side, and everyone who's female, please come to the right side. So when I did this, I would find that there are one, two, three, four, five, six students over here who likes to play basketball, and one, two, three, four, four who do not. Right? And on the other side, in the female side, I would say one, two, three students like to play basketball, and one, two, three. The numbers might not match up. Let me just add a few students over here so that things are more apparent. Okay, right. So this is the case at the moment when I split my class on basis of the gender, right? So you could see over here, this system in comparison with the parent system over here is not as random, right? That is to say, if you are to go to this particular class and pick a student at random, there is a 6 by 10, 6 by 10, or in other words, that is 3 by 5 of a chance that you are picking a student who likes basket. Similarly, if you go over here and pick it up, there is about, let's say, uh, that is 7 over 10. 7 out of 10 chances that you are picking a student who's not playing basketball. That what I'm trying to say is that this two systems are not as random as the parent system, and the system has lower entropy, right? So that is fine. So I again went to my class and I again asked them that, hey, everyone who is over the age, sorry, over the weight of, let's say, 70 kilograms, go to this side. And whoever is below the age of, weight of 70 kilograms, come to this side. Right. Over here, I could see that it does not really make a lot of difference. There were four students who played, did not like play basketball. There were a few students who liked, right? Similarly, in this case as well, right? It was not really, still was a kind of randomized. What I'm trying to say is that splitting it on weight did not really, bring down the entropy or bring about any order or reduce the randomness in the system, right? In this particular system, I'm still not getting a lot of uh, benefit from it. So I again went to my class and I again told them that, hey, everyone who is taller than 180 centimeter come to this side, and anyone who is shorter than 180 centimeter come to this side. Now, this was pretty interesting because there were a lot of students, a lot of tall students who had natural, advantage when it comes to playing basketball, who liked playing basketball. There were a few students who did not like playing basketball as well. They might like studying things better, maybe. Uh, on this particular system, what happened is there were a lot of students who did not like playing basketball because they were, you know, at a disadvantage because of their height. But there were exceptionally few students over here as well who did good when it comes to basketball based on their height. Even, despite of their height, uh, they might be good shooters or something. Shoot the ball from far. In any case, right? So what I did over here is the very same classroom I had in hand. I split that based on three different features: weight, height, and gender. And in this, each of these three cases, the height bifurcation that I made over here resulted in system that had much more order within, which was not random at all, and had a very low entropy. Right? Not it might not be the case that uh, it, the entropy is zero, right? But then again, it has a very low entropy, which is favorable. So what my decision tree essentially does is it tries to split the system into children systems, you can say, or nodes, you can say, which has an entropy that is lesser than the parent system. Because when I do that, I gain information. That is to say, let's say this is my parent system with an entropy E1, right? And my children's system over here has a weighted or combined entropy of, let's say, E2. How do you calculate this combined entropy? Everything is something that is to be discussed in detail. But just for the moment, understand that we can calculate the combined entropy of these two systems. And if it is the case that E2 is less than E1, right? That is to say, E2 minus, that is to say, E1 minus E2 is positive, then we could say that we have gained some information. It's a very intuitive uh, term, actually, information gain. That is to say, when I bring about a change in my system and that result in different system, which is much more clearer now, I'm gaining more information from the process, right? I am able to look into it and say that, hey, people with height greater than 180 are very likely to play basketball. Right? So that is what the information gain is. So a tree does not really stop here, right? So what it does is from all the features that it has at hand, it would make a split and it would choose the one which has the best information gain, right? So essentially, all this gender and all this weight thing uh, would be essentially uh, the only thing that it is splitting. Now, these two children class will be further split on the other features that are available. The goal is that you need to keep on splitting until we have arrived at either a kind of a node which has only one kind of a class. Right? That is to say, if I finally arrive at these kind of two nodes, where would be those who are playing at good at basketball are there, and these are all people who do not like playing basketball. If I arrive at this kind of situation, the splitting can stop, right? Or it can also be the case that does not matter how much more I'm splitting, I'm not getting much more information from it. Right. So this is a very ideal situation. It might not occur all the time. So even this kind of a situation where I have, let's say, a few students who do not like basketball and a few students who like basketball, even this is a system with quite a good, quite a low entropy and good amount of information. So what happens is essentially my tree keeps on making decision based on the features. Let me just put up the tree over here, right? It would split this, and the system would further split on certain basis of certain other features, right? Like this, it gets the trees tend to grow a lot, right? Depending on the complexity of your data. It might keep on growing. At some point of time, it might stop, like it did over here, and then this one might go keep on going, right? Making splits based on certain features until a particular requirement is met, right? And when a new student comes into the system, right? It's a new student uh, comes in with a particular age, a height, a weight, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this information to my tree. I'm going to tell it that hey, I have a student who is 25 years old and he has a height of about 190 centimeter, weighs about 75 kilograms. What do you think? Does he play basketball? Right. So it would basically drive this information through the decision tree. Right. The very first split might be my task is is the student greater than is his height greater than 190? If that is the case, bring him to this node, right? And then ask him if him or her that what gender is. Is it a male or female? And depending on that, again, a split might happen. And it might go to this. And finally, it would say then hey, if it is a male and he's taller than 180 centimeter, it is very likely that he likes to play basketball. So that is how a decision tree works. There are a lot of concepts apart from this to be covered when it comes to decision tree. For example, the calculation of entropy as well. And entropy is actually just one of the measures that you can use to, you know, define the randomness in a system. There are other methods like Gini index and everything as well. There are alternatives like that. And also, when I said about the height over here, when I said height greater than 180 centimeters. So this particular figure of 180 is not something that the machine takes up at random. Right? There is a particular method for selecting that threshold as well. So these kind of information concepts is yet to be covered into, but to give you a gist of how a decision tree necessarily works, this is everything. I hope this video works. More of it coming. So